Art Hoops Nation, Jason Briggs, Reid Nelson. This is This Week in Rec, Week 4. Before we get to the news of the week, let's talk yesterday's Bloomington South matchups. Another easy win for the Blue Horns. Is this because of your easy schedule?
I actually called Corey Rablin, Bennett Lang, and their other big guy and asked which week they were going to be gone, and scheduled our game against them. So it was all well thought out. I'm a mastermind. I love how much credit I get for being extremely intelligent and devious when all this is just, it is what it is. It was a 28-point hard-fought victory, and the 5 guys that showed up for the Good Thumpers are not really shot first guys. So it was an interesting performance. We shot like 60% from 3. Their good guys were gone. Their best 3 were gone, so it wasn't much of a game.
I believe we discussed this yesterday, but if I would have done the schedule, then Big Smash would have had an easy schedule.
Correct.
You know, if Izzy would have done the schedule, the Gorillas would have had an easy schedule.
I would have been screaming to high heavens if Izzy would have done the schedule.
So I think it turned out fine. Question for you: Let's play Name That Player.
Okay.
We've got a guy who's averaging 30 points. He's shooting 33 of 65 from the three-point line for 51%. He's 44% from the field. Is that an MVP candidate in your book?
I thought we were playing Name That Player.
Yeah, Name That Player.
Yes, I would say definitely an MVP candidate, and my guess would be Scott Cotterman.
No, although Scott Cotterman has the best screen game in UH, I would say. It's the best pick.
Amazing screen game. Amazing screen. He's the Roni Turioff of Ultimate Hoops.
Question is Devin Stensrud, in his 51% three-point shooting, an MVP candidate this season?
Oh, you're talking about No. He absolutely.
He is.
Yeah, Devin's game has really progressed. He used to take ridiculous threes just for the sake of taking ridiculous threes. The kind of curl NBA leg kick, shots that I thought were terrible. But I think he's really stepped up his game. He's taken it to the hoop more, and he's clearly making his shots.
No, those guys play well together.
They lost last night.
They lost a Big Smash last night. It was a good game.
Second season in a row.
Yep. I.
What's the recipe, Reid?
I have no idea.
And I get my ass kicked.
I wasn't there last season, so and I don't really play too much. So let's get to the news that. I just want to touch on one other thing. The Tropics Red Devils game, great game yesterday. Red Devils hold on.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. In what is just a really awesome rivalry, was a really great game down the stretch.
Very physical.
Very physical game. Very physical. So let's get to the news of the week. Eligibility talk again. Okay.
Who got outed?
Well, I feel like we're talking about this every season. Travis Johnson brought in.
Avengers Travis Johnson?
Hold on now. Barracuda's Travis Johnson brought in last season. Was an MVP candidate. Is an MVP candidate this season for both the Gorillas and the Avengers. Potentially the best offensive player on either team. And you've got Batiste, you've got Maher on both squads, you got Marmo, on one of them. So, that's saying a lot.
Definitely most complete player on each team. Thank you, Junius.
So, what are your overarching thoughts about the fact that here is another player that is ruled ineligible, has played 6 games this season? Where do we go from here?
Do you want my GM hat or my Players Committee hat?
Well, let's do the Players Committee hat.
Okay. I abstain from all of this. It's no secret that I have a very vested interest in being 4-0 rather than 1-3. So me to even vote on something like this, it would crap on the process. The gray area in all of this is the rule and the term experience. What is experience? To one person, it's playing a game. To another person, it's being on a roster. To another person, it's practicing because you're playing against good competition. So it's always kind of been black and white. If you have any experience past a certain point, past high school, you're ineligible. If you're good enough to be on a roster, you might be too good for rec. That's always been the general rule. I know Travis's argument is that he never played a second. He got there, he got hurt. But again, I don't know all the details. All I know is the rule, and the rule is experience. So what's experience? it wouldn't be fair to do a players committee vote on this because 3 of his teammates are on the players committee. So I don't know what we're going to do, if it'll get to a vote, if it's a UH thing, but eligibility continues to be an issue. I think there's a lot of people, especially new people like Travis, may not specifically know the rule. If someone goes up to him and asks if he played college and he says no, did he lie?
I guess no, he didn't.
Right.
To answer your question, before you go on with more thoughts potentially.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, people may have asked that question to him. Maybe they didn't ask the right question.
Well,
He did not play college basketball, but he didn't. He does have his picture on the Bethel roster.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is this
Picture,
is,
profile, all that.
I don't buy the argument that he didn't know. I don't. I think he's very well connected. I think he's been on the web. I could be completely speaking out here and be completely wrong.
I can assure you that Derek, Izzy, and I did not know.
Sure.
I look up my players before I get them on the team. I look them up, and every search that I've ever done, and I looked up Travis, I did not find anything. But if you type in the school name and Travis in basketball, he's the first one that comes up.
Well, and being on the roster is always, kind of what I've looked at and said, if you were good enough to get onto the roster, your name, your number, your height, your high school, short bio, you look at some of the greats in rec. You look at the Mike Burns. You look at the Chris Mahers. You look at those guys. Those guys were never there was never any doubt, And to me, I don't like the whole practice player. If you're a practice player, I'm sorry, but that's completely irrelevant. If you're coming in and practicing against anybody, who cares?
Right.
That doesn't mean you're on the roster. Now, I mean, if you were a practice player and they put you on the roster, that's just weird.
Yeah. And
because then you're not a practice player. You're on the roster.
Bethel lists 31 or 32 players on that team.
Well, and you've got a varsity, you've got a JV.
That's a gigantic bench. I mean, that's that's stadium seating on that bench.
But I mean, look at guys who have played at I don't know if it's Hennepin Tech or at Anoka Ramsey. I mean, that's not a really super high level of basketball. I mean, it's college and it's good, but it's not.
I couldn't make it.
It's not Michigan. So there are guys that played to Anoka Ramsey who would blend in perfectly here.
I love how we always we say Joel Hedberg as one of them. And it completely diminishes what Joe does in the basketball court. He's a very good shooter, but he's the guy. It's just that he's short.
Well,
but he's a rec guy.
Travis Johnson does stick out. He's an excellent basketball player. And the rule was put in place to keep players like that off of this court and on open courts. That's how I understand it.
He's the victim of being unlucky enough to be on the roster.
Why was he on the roster?
There are several players here.
I wasn't on the roster. I went to the U. They didn't put me on the roster.
Correct. Well, don't go to the reason Byrne didn't play college basketball. He went to Michigan.
Well, but there's a lot of guys who went to college who weren't on the roster. Why was he on the roster? That's very strange.
Hey man, I don't know. I don't know the fact.
The other thing is this, and there is a little bit of benefit of the doubt here. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but it's true. If Travis comes to the players committee last season and says, "Okay, guys, I went to Bethel. I'm on the roster. If you're eventually going to find me, but I never played," and he got out in front of it, maybe it's different. Maybe. Probably not, but maybe. So for me, I think it's pretty open and shut. But
one way or another, the rule has to be redefined. At least made more specific. What does experience mean? You saw the website today. We're at 50 comments, and everyone seems to have a slightly different view. What is experience? And right now it's black and white. But is that the way it should be? There's rumors about a few guys that didn't play rec, and then they found out they weren't on a roster, so they could play rec.
Okay.
So I mean, we need to call out to some of these community colleges over the last couple of years and see if we can get their team photo and out some people.
Well, and I mean, you mentioned today that you received a YouTube video from an anonymous source. Back to the Minnesota Blizzard conversation,
and something that's been brought up numerous times. I think people like Travis and Marcus make this league better. There are, until I got to know Marcus, there were few guys in this league whose team I wanted to beat more. It might have been that he was on Jay Moore's team, let's be honest. But there's few guys, it's to beat a Marcus Marshall team is a big deal. But yeah, there was, I haven't watched it. I know you haven't watched it. It's an hour and 46 minutes long. But it's apparently it's an exhibition game, them against an all-star team. So
you know what? The discussion continues. We're going to talk to the GM of the Avengers. We're going to talk to Izzy here, and we're gonna get to the bottom of this. Any final parting thoughts on this situation? Well, and one other thing, Brett Torrance, excuse me. He was a player for Jesus Shuttlesworth.
Yep.
He was found to have played at St. John's University. He did compete in a game against Marquette. So
an exhibition game.
But a game nonetheless.
Right.
And
I know. I'm just
and they'll vacate their win against the Huskies,
Yep.
which has already happened. So again,
one final thought for you, Reid. The Huskies are now 4-0. They have at least 3, I would say, guaranteed wins at the end. Potentially 4. They could be 8-0.
with an asterisk, right?
8-0 is 8-0.
It was 8-0.
I've never been shut out before, let alone 3 straight games. So this 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 loss is rough. I thought we were a better offensive team.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, we're going to get Mr. Batiste in here next. Thank you, Mr. Briggs.
Just so everyone knows, he's a bit delusional. You might want to call him Reid Nelson.
Okay, sounds good. All right, UH Nation, Derek Batiste here with the Travis Johnson scandal, if you will. First off, let's go back to the beginning. Travis Johnson was a Barracuda last season. How did he become an Avenger?
Chris played with him. He was up here playing with him and Brian. He sent me a text. He said, hey, have you heard of Travis Johnson? He's really good. What you think about picking him up? I hadn't heard of him. He said he played for the Barracudas. I was like, who the hell are the Barracudas? No offense.
Because you clearly don't go to uhlife.com, I guess.
On occasion, if I have to give an English lesson and I have to see if anybody is understanding my articles. Yeah, Chris played with him. I came up, I played with him. We talked to him. Mainly, my team is about combination of personality and your talent, what you can bring to the table. Also, we play with a lot of friends, but he fit in. In regard to his now college experience, I did not do any background research because he had been in the league. With players that I've recruited in the past, I have made it a point to make sure that they didn't have college. Ben Martanchik was the one that comes to mind. He was a player that I met playing in Target Center, and he was, leading in points scored almost every week in the first couple seasons. And I asked him twice on Facebook. I said, do you have college experience? He's like, no. And I was like, making sure no JV, no practice squad, nothing. And he's like, no, I'm good.
We're talking about an MVP candidate here. What's this going to do to your team in the short term? Not having him for now.
We will not be as good, obviously, especially on defense. He's an awesome player. He's one of the best, I think, versatility-wise, he's one of the best defenders. Yeah, it's going to hurt. We've been playing with kind of the same crew for a while, and I think we'll be okay, but we're not going to be as good. Not even close.
He wore a Bethel shirt tonight, which I think is hilarious. Was that sort of a kind of a mocking gesture at the powers that be, the players committee, or do you think he's just having fun with it?
No, honestly, if you know Travis, he's not the kind of person to give anybody the middle finger or be indignant about this obviously unfortunate situation. Honestly, I feel like he probably didn't even look at the shirt that he put on.
Come on, you don't actually believe that.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, Derek. Any other final thoughts?
I think it is obviously going to bring up a lot of heated debate about what we should do regarding the rule. The rule has always been, at least before I left, it was pretty cut and dry. Once we saw that you were on the roster, you were out. But obviously now with Briggs and Izzy saying that there's an opportunity to prove that you actually don't have any experience regardless of that, it's I feel like it's going to be a lot of bloviating.
He was on the roster. I don't think there's really, I think it's pretty cut and dry. You know?
Okay, so the head of the players committee saying that if you can provide evidence that you have no...
Why is it changing now, though?
Ask Briggs. He's the one who informed my player that if he does provide said evidence, he can continue to play.
Okay. We'll see about that. All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. All right, UH Nation. Izzy Elkaffas, how are you today?
Good.
Okay, so we've already done the discussion with Mr. Briggs, Mr. Batiste. Everyone wants to know your opinion, so let's just hear it.
My opinion's on UH Life. He's kicked out. I mean, I don't think there's... It's black and white. Here's the deal. It's black and white. If he played college basketball, he's not allowed to play. I don't get what the debate is. It has nothing to do with Briggs or myself or if Jesus had a basketball team. Well, they kind of do, I guess. But if you play college basketball, you can't play rec. It says in the rules, competitive basketball above the high school level. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean if he practices with the team, which he alleges he did. He says he was just a practice squad player. So he wasn't JV. They don't have JV at Bethel, or didn't have JV at the time. So it's like a practice squad team. So that's not competitive basketball above the high school level, because then people that play in open or people that play in other leagues that have college players, that's more competitive than high school. Or, you know, playing pickup with guys that play NBA. So it brings me back to the Marcus Marshall, Johnny Webb, Keelan Ridley, might have been another player. There is a team called, I think, the Minnesota Blizzards, or Blizzard or whatever, and there's a big storm with that, an S storm, with them playing. We did some research, and we found out that yes, they tried out for a basketball team. Yes, they made a basketball team. Yes, they practiced with this semi-pro team, but there was never a game played, and the league folded before the season started. So they're eligible to play. Sure, they made the team, just like Travis made the team. Sure, they practiced, just like Travis practiced, but unless you play a competitive game, you're eligible for rec. That's just how it is. Now, he is still guilty until proven innocent, because he still needs to provide the fact that being on the practice squad, you don't play competitive games. There isn't like exhibitions going on.
Is an exhibition a competitive game?
Yeah, because you've officially had your name on a box score at a college level. You can't, then it becomes iffy, right? Because now we're like, well, what games count, what games don't? It's box score, or you didn't play college.
What if he only practiced? What if he was on the roster and they intended for him to play and start, but the day before the season he tore his ACL?
Then he's eligible, just like Marcus, Johnny, Keelan. I don't know why it's any different. It's the same thing. I sent the Gorillas a text when I found out that he actually played. I sent the Gorillas a text and said, all right, we're 0-3. Travy baby, this is what we call him, because that's his Twitter account, I think, is off the team. We're like, he's kicked out, obviously, he's banned. So now we're 0-3, and we just got to make sure we get in the playoffs. For me, there is no debate. I don't care whose team he's on. He's a college player. If he did not play, he's eligible to play. I'm sure it'll go to a committee voting. I don't care whether Briggs is on the committee, I'm on the committee, whose team he's on. It's a black and white rule. If he played, he's not eligible. If he didn't play, he's eligible.
Did you know he played college?
I had no idea. Bryant said, I got this guy. Oh, he was on the Barracudas. He's like, we got to pick up Travis. He's really good. I said, all right, we'll pick him up. And he never mentioned anything. And I asked him today, I'm like, why would you never tell us? And here's the thing. Briggs checks.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't find a Travis Johnson. you can't type Travis Johnson basketball and find somebody. That one guy for St. John's, you type in Brett and whatever his last name
Torrance.
is. Torrance, and it's not a common name, so you can find him. I had no idea. Briggs had no. Derek had no idea. Nobody had any idea. Bryant might have known. Or he actually probably did know. He went to high school with him, but he never mentioned anything. And to what's his name? To Travy Baby's point, he said, "Well, I never played. I quit before the season started." So they asked me what my experience was, and my experience playing was high school. So I mean,
Well, I tend not to trust these guys too much, and here's why. Captain of Brett Torrance's team told me last night he never played. The JV never competed. Well, I went on Google and I found a box score in 30 seconds. So now he only played a minute of that game, but he played. Now, I do want to touch base on one thing you did say. You said that the Minnesota Blizzards never played in a game. Well, someone sent me a YouTube video today. Actually, someone sent Jason a YouTube video today. He sent it to me. I have no idea who. They played a game. I saw it. Okay, now, I didn't go through the whole 2 hours, and I don't know if I will this weekend or next weekend or whenever, but say we see Marcus Marshall, Johnny Webb, Keelan Ridley throwing alley-oop dunks to each other for the Minnesota Blizzard. Does this story explode 10 times? And who was checking for YouTube videos 2 years ago when this was all going down? Because it's pretty clear as day. You put in Minnesota Blizzards and it pops up.
I have no idea. Here's the thing. I'm not big on kicking college players out of the league. I mean, I was the one that wanted Amy to play like she can play. As long as there's not a clear competitive advantage, I think some college players can play. But I'm the minority. I always get overruled on all of these decisions, and I understand. I was the one that said you have to have an application process, and you have to be deemed not as just an elite talent to where you can't play. Now, if the Minnesota Blizzard played a game, here's the thing though, do they get naturalized as
Grandfathered in?
They get naturalized. They're naturalized citizens of rec basketball now. Like, I wouldn't want them gone. I would vote. I don't. But then you got to keep the rules the same. I'll tell you what. If we had a vote on them, I would vote to keep them in. But that would just be my vote. I would probably be overruled. Because the problem is that's when the black and white. I mean, they're on the black side. I mean, that's not a racist comment, but I'm saying black, you played, white, you didn't. So, yeah, I mean, if they played, it's gonna create a headache. I really hope it's not them. Is it them?
What do you mean? Is it them?
Clear that it's
No, I didn't see them. I only looked at it for like 30 seconds though. So it got very boring for me.
Maybe it's people that look like them. Let's hope.
I was watching History Channel at the time, and that was far more interesting than watching a grainy little Minnesota Blizzards clip. So I was like, we'll get to this later. So your article yesterday, we had to remove some graphic content. You know, I generally don't proofread your work. I mean, you like to not really toe the line, but step over it. I mean, any thoughts on your article yesterday?
Yeah, I knew it might have been a little overboard. It's a men's league. No kids are reading it. It set up perfectly.
But you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, I did. But I tried to make it look like it might have been by accident, but it was definitely on purpose. I mean, they played the Plymouth boys.
No, I got it. Hey, hold on. We're off center here. Could you scoot over just slightly? That really bothers me. And we don't need a breakdown.
It was perfect.
We don't need a breakdown out of it. Okay. Any final thoughts on Travis Johnson? You know what? I'm not even going to touch the Marcus Marshall stuff for now. That will take care of itself. Now that it's out there that there's a YouTube video of Minnesota Blizzard basketball, if they were on it, it'll eventually come back to us. So let's just stay on Travis. Do you see any way where, I mean, he wore a Bethel shirt tonight. Yeah. I think I said Hamlin earlier. He wore a Bethel shirt tonight. Did he do that on purpose?
Yeah. He did it as a joke, like to, he thought it was funny to wear it. He went to school there for a quarter and left and transferred to another school.
Just one quarter?
Yeah, just a quarter.
That'd be really. Well, I guess the basketball season starts in October.
If he left in the quarter, he would have left before the season ended anyway. So I told him the only way you're going to be able to prove that practice squad never happened is if you go back to Bethel. And I told him
enroll.
Being reinstated is if you go back, not go back to Bethel, but go back to the Bethel coaches and have them send an email saying that you never played, there was never JV team, you didn't play any competitive basketball, whatever, you got hurt, whatever the whole thing is, and it has to be from a Bethel email account. It can't be from Joe Schmo at yahoo.com. And then
just one account. I mean, I'd almost need two. I guess. Just one person.
Well, one of the coaches says yes. A head coach.
What if the coach is his cousin? I mean, come on.
Maybe, but
last question.
Or a doctor's note. If he has a doctor's note saying that he was hurt, because he's got medical records, right? You can always go back and get your medical.
We'll see what he provides. So, final thought. Somebody joked about this on that long comment, and I don't know if they were being serious or being joking, but they mentioned something, and I don't know who it was. It was an alias. They mentioned something about Travis not going back to play college so he could maintain his rec eligibility. Did I read that right?
Yeah. I mean,
is this league to that status right now?
Here's the thing. This league is, if you go play college basketball and you're not a guy that's like Travy baby is good, but he's not gonna be a star on a basketball team. He's gonna have to practice 2 times a day. He's gonna have to ride the pine. He's gonna get 12 minutes a game. I would much rather not do that, and then be able to play rec basketball with Bryant, who's his friend, and the rest of us for another 10 years.
Okay. Question. Rick Adelman calls you halftime of the Timberwolves game. Okay? He goes, Izzy, I need you. I saw you shooting 3-pointers at the shootout. I need you. I need you for the second half. I'm not sure if you're going to play, but I'm going to put you on the roster right now. You're probably going to sit at the end of the bench, but there's a slight chance that you could play. You could suit up in the NBA against LeBron James. Are you going to take that opportunity and pass up your rec eligibility?
I'd have to start.
You'd have to start. You'd have to tell him, Coach. Seriously though?
No, I mean, if that happened and he said if I was guaranteed court time,
you're not.
No, I wouldn't do it. Adelman's a shyster, man. He'd just do it. Somebody would put him up to it to get me out of rec. I know.
All right.
Somebody that doesn't like me.
That we'll see you next week.